And let's go. Welcome into another edition of the Sports Cubicle right here on WCPT 820 AM, heartlandsignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM Chicago, and right here on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, with Devin Tingle, with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and the Chicago Bears are in sole first place of the NFC North after beating the Green Bay Packers in Chicago 22-16 on Saturday night in dramatic fashion, at one point down 13-3 in the fourth quarter, and a moonshot to DJ Moore was the dagger to get the Bears a victory. So much to talk about, so many storylines, and we're going to break it all down for you right here. So we're going to go around the cubicle and kind of say our emotions throughout an entirely emotional day. So, first of all, heading into that Bears game all week long, it obviously was one of the main storylines in the NFL. And then on top of that, you had so many storylines, whether or not you Matt LaFleur versus Ben Johnson, Caleb Williams versus Jordan Love. And then we finally got to kickoff where we had major injuries on the side of the Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons having a torn ACL. And then in this game with the concussion, it seems like Jordan Love might miss a couple of weeks of football, depending on how bad the diagnosis might be. Malik Willis having himself a heroic day for the Packers, but a tale of two games, right? A game that started for the Chicago Bears where on fourth down, they did some trickery, a wildcat, and it cost them 3 points at the least, a chance at a touchdown, and things looked like it was going to go downhill from there, and ends with an iconic shot, one that recently Bears fans are used to going the other direction, but this time around, the Bears are on the good end of it. Penalties were a killer for this team, but this is just kind of the base, the big macro point of this Bears game, an exciting Bears game, the biggest Bears win in recent history. So why don't we go to you, Devin? What did you think watching one of the most emotionally tolling games in recent Bears memory?
Good, better, best. Good, better, best. No, my goodness, Mercado. I don't really know where to go here because watching this game in the beginning, I wanted to poo-poo on the Bears so hard. And there are a lot of red flags, I guess I will call them, that we can definitely talk about later on. But I do want to talk mostly about the positives here, as we have seen the Bears have a lot of fourth quarter comebacks this season. And last 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, against the Green Bay Packers, they had a chance to. And of course, we all know that ended with Caleb Williams' fourth quarter interception, ending that game, cementing their fate. So to see him come back in overtime in a game that, let's be real here, they pretty much had no business winning. That onside kick in the fourth quarter that they managed to get possession back. Literally, this team won this game on a prayer. We all know the Pope's White Sox fan, but I'm pretty sure he's a Chicago Bears fan there because we are definitely seeing some miracles coming out of this team. And also, let's take a look. That bomb pass Caleb Williams made at the end. It was kind of ugly coming out there. I screamed, "What are you doing?" And when I saw DJ Moore catch it, I'm like, they won. They won. The thing is, I love the Bears, but I'm a Bears fan. I've been a Bears fan. As we saw in the beginning, in the past 15 games, the Bears have one win, the Packers have 14. And I thought for sure this could be, number 60. Hey, we're 2-14 against them in the past 7 years now, so that should really say something. But this is a Bears team that they're proving they can beat good teams, but can they beat the great teams of this league? And I'm going to end my statement on that point right there.
Marvelous. What did you think after what's going to be known as what could have been known as the Malik Willis game will now go down as the comeback game against the Packers, an onside kick to lead to that great overtime win? Marvelous. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, we were offensively challenged. We only got the three field goals to begin with, and in tremendous, difficult, windy conditions. So props out to Santos. The other thing is that the receiving core is so depleted that we're using people that have never played pretty much, during the season. So I mean, I didn't even know who number 20 was. I'd never seen him before. I still don't know who he is.
Yeah, the
And
rookie
even at the
Walker.
end of the game, at the end of the game, I'm used to on touchdown plays, everything's being reviewed. I mean, did the ground help Moore catch that ball? I'm still wondering. I still had my doubts, but it counts and it's a touchdown. And I mean, it's pretty much cements the playoffs for sure. Whether it cements the first place or not remains to be seen. San Francisco and Detroit will have a lot to say about that. But the city is definitely thrilled. I mean, I'm sitting at Panera and other places, and people are playing their whole evening around watching the Bears, which reminds me of the Jim McMahon days, kind of, for us old folks. But it's tremendous. The excitement's there. Pro football, the Bears are probably the most universally accepted and team among the fans in Chicago. Football is number one, I think, still, because there's no division like there is in baseball between the franchises.
And it was an absolutely unbelievable atmosphere. Shout out to every single Bears fan that showed up to Soldier Field this past Saturday, because it was a cold one by the time we got to kickoff, and we know on the lakefront, especially with that wind chill. And I wanted to take a second to give a shout out to Malik Willis, who played a hell of a game. This was one of those moments where if you don't watch the NFL, if you don't watch a lot of football, it's easy to see why you would think, how can a backup quarterback play that well? There's a reason why. You don't game plan for them. They aren't part of the scouting reports on so many different levels, and they're able to expose your defense. But what we've seen time and time again with the Chicago Bears team under Ben Johnson, with Caleb Williams under this offense, is that they continue to be in games. And it's not a fluke. It isn't luck. They play the game that way, so that when it comes down to the big time moments, they have an opportunity to win a football game. And that's what happened here. And you're going to need some luck, but you have to do anything possible for when that luck comes to be in a place to make an opportunity out of it. And that's what we saw this past Saturday with the Chicago Bears. You know, it's one of those moments where if you are looking at X factors, when we're in January, when you're playing the Seahawks, when you're playing the Rams, when you're playing this Packers team again for the third time, what do you do with adversity? What do you do with a certain amount of time of game planning, a week of practice? What do you do when both of your teams are the walking hospital wards, especially like it seemed like Green Bay? You wanted to take advantage of it right now with how beat up they have been. So I think this is one of those wins where even with Jordan Love being out, it's in the act of a football game, right? He was in that game when the Bears went for it on fourth down, and that drive in the first quarter. It was under the context of Jordan Love being there, who's been under an absolute scorcher the last few weeks. So you take this win and you enjoy that you've had your 11th win of the season, that you go up to almost 84% of a probability of making the NFC playoffs. Never apologize for how you played. And I think that's what you saw in this game. Devin, knowing the kind of with the opportunity to see this, is there a player or was there a moment that really shined from this victory? Is it Caleb Williams? Is it the running game towards the end of the game? The defense? Was it the big time sack at the end with Montez Sweat? Like, what was it for you that really shined for you?
Oh my goodness, Mercado. You don't even pick just one? I mean, there are a lot of holes in this game. There were a lot of positives as well, too. I mean, Kyle Monangai definitely was very powerful in that run game as he was running all over, and he was getting huge gains every time he got a possession of that ball. And with DeAndre Swift, shout out to my boy, I'm wearing his jersey right now. It's radio. None of you can tell that anyway. He had a groin injury here, and this kid, Kyle Monangai, has definitely been stepping up. So you want to talk about a season MVP for the Bears? Kyle Monangai is definitely a big goal there in the run game, was definitely a big part of this here. Caleb Williams was definitely shining very well here in this game a lot. People love to poo-poo on Caleb Williams, and yes, there is not a lot of offensive scoring in this game, but I really, towards the end was when he kind of had his time to shine, but he was not playing horrible football here. I mean, he had a couple of really bad passes. That's because the line failed him, and he was trying not to get killed. And as we all know, especially we saw with Jordan Love, you get hit real hard, you can be out for the rest of the game here. The defense, I do have a little bit of problems with, especially going into this game, as we did see with Malik Willis playing like 2004 Michael Vick. If you know, you know, run all over the place here. It was one of those things where it's like, oh my goodness, I don't want to lose to the backup. Packers fans will never let us live that down. Montez Sweat causing at the end to definitely regain that possession was just kind of a nice thing here, though. So, on all reality, Mercado, if I got to rank them, it would be in that order there. Kyle Monangai was definitely one of the big MVPs. Caleb Williams, who was able to make any of these wide receivers seem to look really damn good tonight.
We want to thank everybody for joining us here on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch on WCPT 820 AM, heartlandsignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM, Chicago, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle. I'm your host, Mike Mercado, with the marvelous one, Dan Marver, and Devin Tingle. And, the truth of the matter is this offense didn't look good for nearly 4 quarters of football. But it is something that I think if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you've never seen before. It's something not many teams have in the NFL. When it mattered the most, at the end of the game, with a rookie wide receiver in Walker making the catch, Caleb Williams went down the field, and it was after, whether it's an onside kick, whatever the circumstances were to get you in that position, your quarterback executed the offense called by the head coach. And you scored points on a defense that had kind of kept you in check for 60 minutes of football. And then in overtime, when your defense did its job, you once again put yourself in a position to give your quarterback a chance to win. And that's exactly what he did. So for the first time in a long time, if ever, the Chicago Bears not only have a competent quarterback, they have a quarterback that when the time is at its toughest, when the moment seems big, he doesn't shrink. Does that equate to an undefeated season, to winning every single time this happens? No. But what we learned today, what we learned on Black Friday, is that Caleb Williams is a quarterback that can win you a National Football League game. That could be the reason you win a big time moment game. And that's something I've never seen as a Chicago Bears fan. And I think we can kind of bring it home a little bit because we have a very jam-packed show on the Sports Cubicle. But I'll go to you, Devin. Any final thoughts as the Chicago Bears win their 11th game? By the time people listen to this on the terrestrial radio here in Chicago, the wonderful Cubicle fans, we will know that the Detroit Lions had lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. A loss to the Steelers means the Bears are a guaranteed playoff berth. But right now, they're over 80% probability, according to the metrics, to win the NFC North. But I feel pretty confident at 11 wins with 2 games left against the Niners and the Lions. The Bears have set themselves up to be a 2025 playoff team. Any final thoughts after one of the biggest games, after one of the biggest wins in recent history?
Well, this is where we're going to be at, Mercado. We're going to see, are the Bears good, better, best, or are the Bears good, better, or are they just good? I definitely see playoffs as definitely kind of seeing a factor here. Whether Detroit wins or loses, I think they can definitely take this game from the 49ers here, who, much like the Bears and a lot of teams they face this season, are a little beat up in certain areas here, though. However, the playoffs are where I do get concerned, Mercado, because it's very interesting that in a game that was for the longest time 13-3, one of my biggest gripes was the Chicago Bears defense, because what did the Packers do? Oh my goodness, the time of possession the Green Bay Packers had with that ball, it was compared to the Bears, it was insane. If you can hold on to that ball, it doesn't matter whether you score a lot or not, as we saw here today. But if you can't stop them, if you can get them holding, that's the thing. Let's take a look. The Packers are a good team. Is that stuff going to work against the Seahawks or the Rams, these teams fighting for the number 1 seed in the NFC in the playoffs? And that's where you really got to go here, Mercado, because if you're going to be going against some of these better teams in the playoffs, when it really matters the most more than ever, yeah, be there. And I do not want this another season of the Bears getting knocked out in the first round here. This team has definitely proven they have the potential, and this is definitely a different Bears team, even better than the team we saw in 2018. I'm not going to say better than the team we saw in 2006, and Marver will probably say the 85 Bears are the greatest team ever, even if the Bears go 17-0 anytime in his lifetime here. But there's a lot of things that we got to work on here, and our defense, which has been pretty solid, has definitely shown some flaws today. Going up against Malik Willis, Michael Vick 2.0, I said it there. And we need to definitely get here's the thing, as we saw 2 weeks ago, you can't always come back in the fourth quarter and score. We saw it against the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens have been kind of a garbage-ish. I don't want to say garbage-ish. They have not had the year that they typically have. And we couldn't come back in the fourth with them. So, Mercado, this whole storybook ending come back in the fourth thing, it's great in regular season. It's fun to see them do it against the Packers, the Vikings, the Bengals. But if you go into the playoffs with this mindset, good luck. That's all I'll say there. But right now, I definitely want to believe good, better, best. But right now, I think Bears are showing their good, better. They got to earn that best for me.
And you're not going to win any of those games when you have 10 penalties, over 105 yards worth of them, and just giving the football back and giving great field position over and over again. But I do think this is a team that's coachable. So at the very least, we'll see if they continue. They don't seem to make the same mistake over and over again. So let's see if Ben Johnson will fix that before we get to when time really matters. When if you lose, you're gone. Marver, any final thoughts on a big time Bears victory, setting themselves up for a chance in the playoffs?
Quite a week. Yeah, this was quite a weekend for the NFL. It started Thursday night with a very similar game with similar stakes with Seattle and the Rams. If people saw that, that was an overtime thriller where Seattle was able to beat the Rams, which they're never able to do, much like the situation we saw here in Chicago. So, and these are playoff teams. So I was watching with a close eye on that. The 400 yards I thought was pretty good today for the Bears. 250 passing, 150 rushing, and Swift and Monangai are a really good tandem. And I thought that overall, you know, even though they weren't able to do much in the red zone up until the end of the game, I thought that it was pretty remarkable. Obviously, DJ Moore is a star with that great catch, and the I wanted to give a shout out to the player that I'd never heard of that graduated from Texas. And I don't even know what he graduated from. Some school I'd never heard of, but they went down the list and they were able to get J.J. Walker, who made a touchdown catch, and it was actually he went to Texas A&M. I've heard of them. So all in all, it's pretty exciting. Like I said, I'm in public and the whole town is buzzing. People are changing their plans. They're not going to go into a restaurant. They want to be near the TV. It's pretty exciting stuff. So it looks like it's a playoff team pretty much. I mean, even if Detroit doesn't lose to Pittsburgh, as they may have when this is being on the air, but it's really exciting. Bears, we got a quarterback finally that seems to be worthy of potential playoff and, shall we say it, Super Bowl down the road. So it's all thrilling for the Bears fans, and we couldn't be happier with this another miracle win.
And I think that's a great way to put it, Marver. And it's kind of circling back to what Devin has been saying, and something that's been the thesis all season long is we're talking about the playoffs. We're talking about having a franchise quarterback, having a legit top tier coach. These are good things to talk about. After this Saturday, heading into the rest of week 16, Bears fans, sit back, relax, enjoy a big time victory. Do not apologize for how the Bears won that game. Look at all the positives and remember one thing, even in victory, even with the 11th victory of a season, beating your rival, putting yourself in a position to be a playoff team, that victory still allows the coaches to coach up this team, because there's a lot of mistakes on film. There's a lot of things that this team can work on before we get to that matchup against San Francisco, before the season ends against Detroit, before a potential home game in the playoffs in Chicago for the Bears. That is the best of all scenarios, and you get to enjoy it right before Christmas in the start of this holiday week. And with that, we want to thank you guys so much. I want to thank the Marvelous One, Dan Marver and Devin Tingle. If you're watching us right here on YouTube late at night in Chicago, I want to thank them so much for joining us tonight. It was a absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much. And I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us so late as the Chicago Bears beat the Green Bay Packers 22-16, winning their 11th game of the season, taking sole possession of first place of the NFC North, down 13-3 in the fourth quarter, an onside kick, a touchdown at the end of the game, and a touchdown after a turnover. The Bears are now feeling pretty good heading into week 16 in the season. But with that, we hope each and every one of you feels good the rest of this weekend. Enjoy the entire week 16 slate on Sunday. Please take care of yourself and each other. Stay warm, and we will be right back, because on this edition of the Sports Cubicle, if you're listening to us on the radio, we have Fred Mitchell, legendary sports journalist and the namesake of the Fred Mitchell Award in college, joins us next right here on the Sports Cubicle. He's Devin Tingle. He's the Marvelous One, Dan Marver. I'm Mike Mercado, right here on the Sports Cubicle on WCPT 820 AM, heartlandsignal.com, WSBC 1240 AM Chicago, and on YouTube at the Sports Cubicle.